Woj, what's the timeline here for replacing Adrian Griffin?
My expectation is that Milwaukee is going to move pretty quickly here. Again, Joe Prunty will be the interim for however long this takes. But I think part of the reason for making a decision this abruptly into the season is that they can give themselves a runway with a new coach. I'm told that Doc Rivers is at the very top of this list. Obviously, he's with us at ESPN right now. But you look among available head coaches who fit the description of what they want. Accomplished veteran, certainly, won a championship, has been in the playoffs a lot in his coaching career. 3 straight trips to the conference semis with that team in Philadelphia the last 3 years. He fits it everywhere. And again, somebody with Milwaukee roots, played his college basketball at Marquette, from down the road in Chicago. Joe Prunty has done this before, kind of bridging between a fired head coach and the next one. But my expectation is that the Bucks are going to move quickly with this process. This is a very small pool of potential candidates.
And this is such a unique situation because really the championship window for the Milwaukee Bucks, it is now. Zach, how do the Bucks move forward from here? How do they fix this?
Yeah, they're under a ton of pressure. I mean, that's just the reality of having Giannis and a team that now trends a little older than it used to. The first thing they need to do is just get their defense in order. And we could talk about a number of different things, personnel to coaching, whatever. It's just been a discombobulated mess all season. They never get back on defense in transition. They're disorganized. They started the season playing a crazy, hyper-aggressive scheme before the players said, hey, we didn't do it that way under Mike Budenholzer, and we were really good. Let's dial it back. That stopped the bleeding a little bit, but they're 22nd in defense, having played the easiest schedule in the NBA. And if I'm looking at a coach, the first thing I'm doing is coming in, clarifying what it is we are about on defense. What are the rules? What are the rotations? How can we just stabilize around average? Because as messy as they've been, they're second in offense, and they're not that far off from first. Again, the schedule has been easy, but all the focus has got to be we just got to get calm and stable on defense to give ourselves any kind of chance against a Boston or a Philadelphia in the playoffs. There is a lot of work to be done on that end of the floor.
You're so right, Zach. Perk talked about body language. You're talking about not getting back on defense. Those are like prerequisites for success at the professional level. And also, Richard, you know that like the hardest thing to teach a pro is to be committed defensively. You come into the league, you want to earn your stripes, you want to get buckets, and then defense is the thing that will set you apart as a unit. And looking at January, the Bucks have allowed almost 125 points per game in January. That is a record for amounts of points allowed in 11, in their entire franchise over an 11-game stretch. So if you look at what they've done defensively, it's been really tough. But I think overall, this is kind of like a cold shower over Milwaukee, right? Like it's a wake-up call because they have enough of the tools. I think we all know that Dame coming in, Drew Holiday leaving, we know defense was going to suffer. We didn't think this much. They still have someone that we talked about potentially being a defensive player of the year in Lopez last year. They have Giannis, who is a defensive player of the year. Like, it should have been working, but those things like body language, not getting back on defense, allowing the most points in franchise history, those are not the things that will help you win, especially now. And I do like that they're doing it now because it gives them enough time to get in formation.
Yeah, I'm not sure you should be that surprised that there is this dramatic of a drop-off defensively from Drew Holiday to Damian Lillard. That shouldn't be surprising.
That's where I was going next. It's like players have to take some ownership in this too. It's not just the schemes. It's not this. There's a level of commitment. There's a level of focus. There's a level of following game plan. Look, Dame Lillard is going to play 40 minutes a night, 35 to 40 minutes a night for you. If you look at the history of his teams in Portland, they were in the bottom third defensively. That's one of the reasons why Terry Stotts, and that's another point. Let's not forget that Terry Stotts was on this staff and then left. So for me, when I look at it, you had a veteran head coach that had playoff success. And again, Adrian Griffin was hired before Dame got there. So this might have looked a little bit different if it was Dame and it was Giannis, and now we're going to go look for a head coach. So when I look at this, losing Terry Stotts, a veteran coach that can be like, hey, this is what you need to do. Here, that's why you have these high-level assistants on younger coaches or newer coaches' rosters, is to give them the stability. So you take him away, you're taking a lifeline for him to lean on and really depend on in tough situations, and he didn't have that.
It's rare that we see these moves come at this point in the year. But it doesn't feel like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I still feel like the Milwaukee Bucks absolutely have time to figure all of this out. Do you?
Yeah, they definitely have time. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you do it. Like, again, I mentioned again my time with David Blatt and T. Lue. Where I will say it is different is that we had the head coach in waiting, and T. Lue had to prove himself in that moment.
And the difference, too, is they're not chasing in the standings. They're at the top of the standings. The record in and of itself is not what got Adrian Griffin dismissed. It was how they were playing, how it felt, the strength of schedule that still awaited them. But they don't have to make up ground in the standings for seeding.
Right.
And that's helpful for this team, for whoever the next coach is, if it's Doc Rivers. And what'll be interesting, too, though, when you come in the middle of a season, there are very few head coaches available that you would feel like give you a chance to do what you want to do. Doc Rivers is one of them for Milwaukee. But he's going to be inheriting somebody else's coaching staff. And guys who've worked for Doc Rivers know how to work for Doc Rivers. They're not available. One of his assistants, Brian Adams, just went to Detroit, started the season overseas. So if Doc Rivers comes in, potentially, it's with a different coaching staff. That's impactful for a veteran head coach.
I'm on fire.